Yes, this is John G. Sutton. Tales from the Jails. I believe last night there was a programme on Sky TV. I don't have Sky TV, by the way, concerning the riots. It was called Minute by Minute, where they had members of staff who were there at the time of the riot discussing the cause of the riot, the reasons for the riot, and what they did on the day. I wasn't there at the time. I had retired from the prison service following a series of physical assaults by other staff on me, which sounds crazy, I know, but it happened. Yeah, and so I hadn't been there for a few years, but I know pretty well what happened. Let me tell you this. Directly after the riots, on the roof, the prisoners on the roof were shouting down to the press, if you want to know what's going on in Strangeways, go and see John Sutton. Seriously. And sure enough, the press did contact me. I was on BBC Today programme on Radio 4. I was on numerous news channels, and I was invited by, I believe it was Granada TV at the time, to do a debate on why there was a riot at Strangeways Prison. And they invited the Prison Officers Association to debate this with me. And the Prison Officers Association said, in the event that you invite John Sutton onto the programme, we will not be attending. What's this all about? Seriously, this is the Prison Officers Association, supposedly representing all the prison officers in the UK, and they wouldn't sit down and debate with me. Why? I'll tell you why. Because what they were telling, what they were saying, the reasons that they were giving were complete and utter nonsense. Absolute nonsense. There was a big reason behind the Strangeways riot. I'll tell you my theory. And don't forget, I worked there. Strangeways was a screw's neck. It was always going to go. But listen, I mean, we're talking about a screw's neck. We're talking about a prison there where the discipline and the order was maintained by fear and intimidation. That is, the staff will deliberately provoke, intimidate, and administer a degree of brutality to the inmates. On one of their nasty tricks that staff used to play was called the food-free diet. Yeah. Now that involves you being in a cell, and when it comes time for meals, your cell doesn't get unlocked, so you don't get anything to eat. You don't get any food. Yeah. And one day I was, it was, give me a second here. Yeah, it was D2 landing. D2, yeah. And the senior officer in charge of D Wing said to me, "Don't open him up at lunchtime." I said, "Lunchtime?" You know, they pointed to the cell. "So what's all this about?" He said, "Nah, it's food-free diet. Giving him a few days on that." I said, "You can't do that." You know, I said, "Well," he said, "You'd not unlock him." He said, "I'm telling you, do not unlock him. That's a direct order." What are you going to do? I mean, so basically I just got on with my job, and I said, "Well, I'll leave that side of the landing to you then, should I? Get on with your job." So basically I did what I was told, which is a kind of a cowardly thing to do, let's face it, you know. And I determined I wasn't going to do any more of that. But I believe that last night on the television, this very senior officer was speaking about how wonderful the staff were and how caring and kind they were to the inmates, and the inmates were ungrateful thugs, and not so, not at all. Yeah, it was always obvious to me that Strangeways was going to kick off. But listen, there was no way that the prison staff would throw the keys in and run out the jail. No, somebody had to put them up to that. somebody had to say, in the event that there's any trouble, get out of there. Seriously, they would not do it on their own. The staff at Strangeways would. I mean, if it was me and there was a big set to, I'd get in there and sort it out, or do my absolute damnedest to sort it out. You know, I certainly wouldn't jump back. And if they'd jumped up and taken the microphone off Noel Proctor, the chaplain in the prison, then I would have definitely been in there and destroyed that. And I would have expected all my fellow officers to join in and to get reinforcements from the jail. Now, don't forget, this was done on a Sunday on the 1st of April 1990. So it's not that long since I'd left the service. And the staff were in charge, as I say, it was a screws neck, so they must have been told, in the event that there's trouble, get out of the jail, because we're expecting a riot. But listen now, there were other overlying factors on this, yeah? There was a ban on overtime being imposed through the Home Office, who were banning all excess, and there was excessive overtime at Strangeways. People were working, I knew one guy who did 30 straight 14.5-hour shifts. 30 on the trot, no break. Starting at 7 in the morning, finishing at 9 o'clock at night. Seriously, 30 of them. And basically, the Home Office said that's got to stop. So there was going to be a major change. They were bringing in changes to the rota system, so that people were not going to be paid as much, and the basic pay wasn't brilliant. So if they didn't top it up with overtime, then the staff wouldn't be particularly well remunerated. So they didn't want to do this. They wanted there to be a reason for there to be overtime. Seriously. Anyway, when the riot kicked off, yeah, I mean, don't forget, they had a reforming governor there, and I never met this man. I've seen him on television. His name was Brendan O'Friel, yeah, and he seemed to me to be a sound-minded, very decent Christian man who spoke very eloquently about there being a outbreak of evil. I think the speech went something like, there has been a serious disturbance in Strangeways prison and an outbreak of evil. What's this outbreak of evil? Basically, the inmates were complaining about being abused. And don't forget, I've already previously told you in these little tales from the jails about staff urinating in the soup and abusing the inmates, and that had been going on for years. Also, I believe in the programme last night, there was one inmate there, big guy, beard, saying I'd already said, they might have shown a clip from him from the Strangeways documentary saying, this place, the roof's going to come off. Yeah, so if you watched that, yeah, he was right. But I know that same inmate, and he didn't have it that bad. Do you know why? He was bribing the staff. Seriously. He was getting, and I know this, I know, because he tried to bribe me. I wouldn't have it, yeah? Seriously. Offering me inducements to get him favourable cellmates. I don't know if he particularly wanted the cellmates for, but he picked the wrong jailer because I reported it. And he didn't get disciplined. No, he did not. And it was not researched. So the inmates, this inmate that had been bribing the staff, and I gave the names of the staff. Yeah, no, he got moved from Strangeways to Kirkham Prison. He's around today, I think. You go ask him. Yeah. Tell him John Sutton, E3. Yeah. I believe the year was 1979. Yeah. Anyway, time passes. All this thing about talking about Strangeways, at the time, there were riots, poll tax riots, all around the country, all over the newspapers. What happened? Strangeways riot? No, nothing about the poll tax riots again. It was off. Filling the newspapers were stories about how many inmates had been murdered at Strangeways. Well, they hadn't really. No, maybe one had been killed by accident. You know, there hadn't been any hangings or mutilations or nothing like that. They made it up. It was a big press story. I mean, I don't want to say that this country is totally corrupt, but on that particular occasion, there were certain things happening that didn't add up to me. And don't forget, I had worked there. And when it came time for the POA to actually speak about this on national television and debate it, they didn't do it. Do you know what they did? They sent their wives. The wives of the prison officers were on television with me saying, my husband's been at risk, my husband's been at that. No, your husband did what he was told to do. Throw the keys in and run. And that's what happened. And as for Brendan O'Friel saying that this was an outbreak of evil, Brendan O'Friel introduced female prison officers into a male prison. I mean, there is a serious recipe for disaster. I mean, it's not that long since I spoke about a prison governor who just got a term of imprisonment for accepting favours from prisoners. I mean, the favours she was getting were tucked inside their shreddies. Are you with me? Seriously, this is dangerous stuff. I mean, we're talking about a Category A prison at the time, introducing women into the Category A prison where they're going to be abused. And honestly, think about this. What kind of a gentle female would want to work in somewhere like Strangeways? I'm sure that there are ideas for reforming roles for females in prisons, but plodding the landings is not amongst them, believe me. Why did Strangeways kick off? It was a number of factors. One, the poll tax riots, the government needed some kind of distraction. Idea, Strangeways, wonderful idea. The POA wanted to have continued the overtime system. They didn't want to have the rota system reviewed. Great idea, give them a reason for that, yeah? The prisoners, they were going to kick off anyway, but somebody facilitated this. I've been there, and I'm telling you, if it had happened on my shift when I'd have been there, I would have been in, absolutely giving it what I could give it to stop that, because that's what we were trying to do, not run away. Listen, this is Tales from the Jails. My name's John G. Sutton. Thank you very much.